Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to the third and final part of this series where we're thinking about how to make sure that you keep moving towards your goals and not leaning back to your past. And today we're going to be thinking about who or what might be standing in your way, or rather who might be standing in your way. And I've broken this down into three parts because these are the three most common parts that come up. And that is yourself, your partner or loved ones, or somebody from your past. So just to recap really quickly, I'm sure there's only been three parts in this mini series, so apologies that I haven't done this every day. I'll be back on track next week. But the first part, we were looking at making sure that you were really clear about what you were leaving behind, what you were wanting to get away from, and why you wanted to get away from it. And then in part two, we were really honing in on what your goal is, and not just what your goal is, but why you are so clear about that goal. And then the third part, as I've said, is to think about what really stands in your way. And so these three things, I think, are the most common three that come up when we have a voice that stops us from either achieving what we want to achieve or feeding us with self-doubt. And the first voice is often our own, right? So we are our own worst saboteurs. And that can be fear. That's usually fear-based. And that can be fear of success or fear of failure. And it's a really interesting one to examine in more detail, because sometimes we can fear success and we can fear the change that comes about when we achieve something big. And like I said in both videos 1 and 2, we're not necessarily talking about big things. We're not necessarily talking about massive life-changing changes. They could just be personal goals, personal fitness goals, personal lifestyle goals. They could be relationship or family based. They could be financial based. They could be work based. They can be whatever you want. But sometimes there is fear associated with that, with the change. Fear of change is a legitimate fear for a lot of people. Then there's fear of failure. What happens if I get it wrong? Especially you as somebody who is already full of self-doubt, then fear of failure is going to be massive for you, because the thought of failing is huge and is so worrying, because you think that by failing, all it does then is confirm that you are not good enough. You are not worthy of what you are going after. You were never good enough for it in the first place. Why were you silly enough to even try, right? That's very much a mindset thing, because people with a growth mindset, people who are always looking at opportunities to develop, always looking at opportunities to grow and to thrive, will see failure as a necessary part of growth, a legitimate learning opportunity. But people who are let's not say frightened of growth or frightened of change, worried about change, and worried about growth, will see failure as a legitimate reason why to either not try or to not try again. So that's where you stand in your own way. That leads on, really, that segues nicely onto whose voice do you hear? So is it your voice? Is it you? Or is it somebody from your past who has negatively influenced you? Maybe you had a really critical parent, who either never gave you the opportunity to try new things, to chance new opportunities, or was just completely down on you, and either made you feel stupid or Here's a really interesting one. Made you feel greedy for even wanting to try. Shamed you because you always wanted to do better. Now I say critical parent, that's kind of like an inverted commas critical parent. It could be a parent, it could be a grandparent, it could be a school teacher. It could be somebody from your teenage years. It could even be an employee. I said that yesterday too. An employer, an old boss, somebody who just made you feel inadequate. And by making you feel inadequate, makes you feel unable to try and chance new things. So it's really, really, really important, if you have a critical voice, whoever that voice that may be, to know it, to recognise it, and to acknowledge it. Because when you know it, when you hear it, you acknowledge it, you can then tell it to sling its hook and tell it it's of no value to you anymore, because it isn't. It literally serves you no purpose. And then the third and final one, which is a really interesting one, are loved ones. People in your current immediate network, your partner. It's often a partner, to be honest with you, or somebody from your immediate family, and or friendship. And this one comes up a lot. This one definitely comes up a lot. And what it is, it exposes your desire to grow, your desire to change, regardless of what it is. Like literally regardless of whether I've worked with people where it's about weight loss, where it's about change of job, where it's about training opportunities, where it's like all sorts of things. And it speaks volumes about them, and it's not about you. If they make you feel either shamed or embarrassed or cocky or anything else for you wanting to try new things, it is because they are threatened by you wanting to do something new. They are threatened because you want to better yourself, and it highlights to them that they're stuck in their comfort zone. Like, I'm not saying it's necessarily with malice. Like sometimes it's with malice, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just fear that that you are outgrowing them, and they don't want you to outgrow them. They want you to stay safe next to them in their safe zone, in their comfort zone. And that happens a lot in partnerships when people want to retrain or to grow or to change careers. It makes people feel uneasy. And there again, it's important to acknowledge that. It's important to recognise it and acknowledge it. And okay, fine, you can't kind of like tell it to sling its hook in the same way that you could do with a voice from your past. But it is a conversation starter, and it's definitely a conversation to be had about what are your shared values and the reasons why you're doing it and the reasons why it's important to you. Okay, I had to do that really quickly because I wanted to get it done in under 10 minutes. So I really hope that that has been interesting for you. If you're not part of the Happy and Fulfilled group and you're a lady, then please do come over. We did an hour and 20 minutes on this yesterday in the as part of our Thursday webinar. So do come over and watch it in a bit more detail. And if not, I wish you a lovely weekend, and I'll catch up with you guys next week. Okay, bye-bye.